I am standing outside my father's office building for the last time, watching through the glass window as my brother sits in the CEO chair that was never meant to be his. 3 years ago, everything changed in a single moment. The sound of that slap still echoes in my memory, along with the words that followed it. You will never be enough to carry this family's name. I walked away that day and never looked back. Now I watch from this distance as everything crumbles. The empire Dad built over 40 years gone in 36 months. Before we dive into how a single moment of rejection became the greatest gift I never asked for, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will show you what happens when the person they underestimate simply walks away and lets gravity do its work. Growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, I thought I understood what legacy meant. My father built Barrett Commercial Contracting from absolutely nothing. He started with a pickup truck and a toolbox and turned it into a company that pulled in $20 million in annual revenue. Mid-size by industry standards, but for a kid watching his dad work 16-hour days, it looked like an empire. There were two of us, me, Francisco, and my older brother, Justin. Justin came first, 12 years old, when our mother passed from cancer. I was only 8. After Mom died, something shifted in Dad. He became obsessed with the idea of passing down what he had built. The business was not just a company anymore. It was supposed to be our inheritance, our purpose, our identity. But here's the thing about having two sons. One of them becomes the golden child, and the other becomes invisible. Justin was tall, charismatic, carried himself like Dad. He got a brand new truck when he turned 16. Dad would bring him to business dinners and introduce him as the future of Barrett Commercial. Justin barely showed up to job sites and partied his way through community college, but none of that seemed to matter. He had presence, Dad would say. He had the Barrett confidence. Then there was me. I started working summers at 13, cleaning equipment and organizing the supply shed. By 15, I was learning actual skills on the job sites. Laborer work first, then moving up to foreman assistant, then project coordinator. I went to Arizona State and got my business degree, paying my own way with scholarships and weekend site work. Every step forward, I told myself the same thing. Dad will notice. Dad will see. He never did. When I did something right, his response was always the same. That is what you are supposed to do. Like exceeding expectations was just meeting the baseline. Like effort meant nothing if it came from me. By the time I turned 26, I was essentially running operations while Dad handled the big clients and strategic relationships. I implemented new project management software that saved the company hundreds of thousands in efficiency gains. I renegotiated supplier contracts that improved our margins by 15%. The employees respected me. They came to me when there were problems because they knew I would actually solve them. Justin, now 30 years old, would roll in hungover at 10 in the morning, take clients out for golf, and somehow take credit for deals I had spent months putting together. Dad would smile and clap him on the back. "That is my boy," he would say, when Justin landed a client. Never mind that I had done all the groundwork, all the technical specs, all the actual relationship building with the contractors who made the projects possible. I kept telling myself it would change. When Dad retires, he will see who really built this. When the numbers speak for themselves, he will understand. I was living on hope like it was oxygen. There were warning signs I should have seen, small moments that added up to a pattern I refused to recognize. Dad started putting Justin's name on contracts I had negotiated from start to finish. When they remodeled the office, Justin got the corner space with the view. I stayed in my small interior room with the broken air conditioning. At the company Christmas party, Dad gave a speech praising Justin's vision and leadership, then mentioned my support role almost as an afterthought. My girlfriend Melissa would watch these moments happen and shake her head. "Your dad is never going to choose you," she told me one night after a particularly painful company dinner. "He has already made up his mind about who you both are. I defended him. He is just old school. He values different things. He will come around when he sees the results. Melissa did not argue, but I could see it in her eyes. She knew what I refused to accept. That hope was the drug keeping me in a situation that was killing me slowly. Early March arrived with a company-wide email, important meeting, all key personnel required to attend. Dad's lawyer would be there, his accountant too. I remember sitting at my desk, staring at that email, feeling something shift in my chest. This was it. The retirement announcement, the transition plan. Finally, after all these years, recognition for the work I had put in. I spent 3 days preparing a presentation on growth strategy for the next 5 years. Market analysis, expansion opportunities, operational improvements. I wanted to show Dad that I was ready, that I had always been ready. The conference room filled up that morning. 12 key employees, Dad's legal team, the accounting firm partner. I had my laptop ready, my notes organized. Then Justin walked in 20 minutes late, cologne, so strong you could taste it clearly, having prepared nothing. He dropped into a chair and checked his phone while Dad stood at the head of the table. I have built this company for 42 years. Dad began, his voice carrying that authority he used with subcontractors who tried to cut corners. Time to secure its future. Time to make sure the Barrett name continues strong. My heart was pounding. This was the moment. All those years, all that work about to mean something, Dad continued. After careful consideration, I am giving controlling stake in Barrett Commercial to Justin, effective immediately. Justin will assume the role of Chief Executive Officer. I will remain as Senior Advisor. Francisco will continue in his operations capacity, which he has handled well. The room went completely silent. I could hear the air conditioning unit humming. Someone's phone buzzed. Everything felt slow and distant, like I was underwater. Everyone in that room knew what I had done for this company. They knew who actually ran things. And they were all looking at me with pity in their eyes. I managed to speak, though my throat felt like it was closing. Dad, can we talk privately? His face hardened immediately. This is final, Francisco. Something broke open inside me. I could not stay quiet anymore. Justin does not know how to read a blueprint. He has never completed a project from start to finish. The Mesa development that was 3 weeks behind schedule last year, I saved that, personally. The supply chain I rebuilt during the pandemic when everything was falling apart, that was me. Every system that makes this company run smoothly, I built that. Justin smirked and leaned back in his chair like this was entertainment. Dad's face turned dark red. You think you know better than me? You think you can question my decisions in front of my employees? I think I have earned the right to at least be considered. That is all I am saying. Dad stood up and walked around the table. I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before, not anger, contempt. He reached me, and everything happened fast. The slap came without warning, hard enough that my head snapped to the side. The sound echoed through the conference room. Someone gasped. But the physical pain was nothing compared to what came next. You are a good worker, Francisco. That is all you will ever be. A worker. Dad's voice was ice cold. Justin has what you do not have. Presence, confidence. People want to follow him. You are too careful, too worried about details. That is not leadership. You will never be enough to carry the Barrett name forward. I stood there with my cheek burning, tasting blood in my mouth from where my teeth had cut the inside of my lip. Justin sat in his chair saying nothing, not defending me, not uncomfortable, just watching. Every employee in that room looked down at the table. Nobody met my eyes. Meeting is over, Dad said. Francisco, my office, now. I followed him like I had done 1,000 times before, but this time was different. In his office, there were papers already spread across his desk, legal documents, official transition papers with Justin's name in bold letters. Everything had been decided long before this meeting. This was not an announcement. It was a formality. You will stay on salary, Dad said, sitting behind his desk, like this was just another business transaction. Good pay, benefits. Just accept your place here. This is what is best for the company. My hands were still shaking, my cheeks still stinging. I looked at this man who I had spent my entire life trying to please. "Did you ever see me?" I asked. "Really see me? I see exactly what you are." Something cleared in that moment, like fog lifting off a highway. I stood up and looked at my father, and for the first time in my life, I was not looking for approval. I quit. "You are being emotional. Sleep on it. I am done sleeping on things. I am done waiting for you to see what everyone else can see. I am done carrying a company for someone who will never appreciate it." Dad leaned forward. "You walk out that door, you are done. No second chances." "Good." I left his office and did not look back. I packed my desk that evening when the building was empty. Personal items, a few books, photos. Left the company laptop on Dad's desk along with my keys and phone, wrote a one-sentence resignation letter on a sticky note. Good luck. Melissa picked me up in the parking lot. We drove to her apartment, and I sat on her couch staring at the wall. I did not cry, did not rage. I just felt empty, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left a shell. But somewhere underneath that emptiness, I felt something else. Space. Room to breathe. For the first time in 20 years, I was not carrying the weight of someone else's expectations. I am not trying to get revenge, I told Melissa that night. I just cannot breathe there anymore. The first month was strange. I applied to project management positions at other firms using references from suppliers and subcontractors who knew my work. Not Dad. Never Dad again. I got hired at a smaller commercial firm in Scottsdale, taking a 40% pay cut. My new boss Gerald appreciated what I brought to the table and gave me autonomy to do my job well. I threw myself into the work, but something was different now. I was not chasing approval. I was not trying to prove anything. I was just doing good work because good work felt right. And for the first time in my adult life, I started sleeping through the night. No more dreams about disappointing Dad. No more waking up at 3 in the morning, mentally running through project details to prove my worth. "You look lighter," Melissa told me one morning, "like someone took 50 pounds off your shoulders." She was right. The weight I had been carrying was not ambition or dedication. It was the constant grinding effort of trying to earn love from someone who had already decided I was not worth it. 3 months after I left Barrett, I ran into Derek at a coffee shop. He had been one of the lead estimators, a guy I had worked with for years. He looked uncomfortable when he saw me, but came over anyway. "Things are not great at Barrett," he said quietly. Justin's first major decision as CEO was to fire the senior estimator who questioned one of his bids. 2 weeks later, they lost 2 major clients because the estimates were way off. Then Derek told me Justin showed up drunk to a city inspector meeting. Derek quit right after that. He could not watch the company fall apart. I listened to all this and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no concern. Just a distant sadness for something that used to matter. "Good luck out there, Derek," was all I said. Over the following months, I heard more through the industry grapevine. Phoenix is a big city, but the commercial construction world is small. Barrett had underbid a hospital renovation project and lost $300,000 when the real costs became clear. 2 of the senior foremen who had been there for 15 years quit within a week of each other. There was an OSHA violation, the first in company history. Justin was blaming everyone except himself. I heard all this and went back to work. My projects, my team, my life that had nothing to do with Barrett Commercial anymore. 15 months after I walked out, my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. It was Dad. His voice sounded strained, older somehow. "Francisco, we need to talk. The company needs you. I need you to come back." The company was losing money, clients were leaving, projects were failing. Dad's voice cracked when he said Justin was not ready, but he could learn. He needed me to come back and help his brother, not lead, help. Still second place, still in the shadow. I felt that old familiar pull, the little boy inside me who just wanted his father to love him. But then I asked myself a simple question. What am I going back to? Another decade of being invisible while Justin takes credit. Another 20 years of hoping Dad will finally see me. Dad, I hope you figure it out. I really do. But I am not coming back. His voice turned cold immediately. You are letting your pride destroy 40 years of work. No, Dad. You did that when you chose ego over reality. You picked favoritism over competence. This is not my fault. This was always going to happen. Take care of yourself. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I was certain. Over the next year, I focused on my own career, got promoted to senior project manager, started building something that belonged to me. Barrett's decline became industry gossip. The hospital system they had botched sued for delays and defective work. The settlement wiped out most of the company's reserves. Dad had a mild heart attack and had to step back even further. Justin panicked and made increasingly desperate decisions. 26 months after I walked away from Barrett Commercial Contracting, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I saw it on LinkedIn. The assets were sold to a competitor. Dad and Justin retained almost nothing. 42 years of work gone. I sat at my desk and stared at the bankruptcy announcement on my screen. I waited to feel something, victory, vindication, some kind of satisfaction that I had been right all along. But what I actually felt was sadness, not for Dad or Justin, for the 23 employees who lost their jobs, for the company that had once meant something real before it got twisted into a tool for playing favorites. Dad had built something genuine, something that mattered, but he destroyed it trying to force reality into a fantasy. The fantasy that Justin was something he was not. The fantasy that love meant giving someone something they had not earned. Dad confused favoritism with legacy, and that confusion cost him everything. 3 months after the bankruptcy, Dad showed up at my workplace. The receptionist called my extension, sounding uncertain. Your father is here. He wants to talk to you. I could have said no. Part of me wanted to. But I agreed to meet him at the coffee shop across the street. He looked 10 years older, defeated. He sat down and immediately started trying to apologize. I should have listened. I did not see what you were contributing. But then, like he could not help himself, he added, if you had stayed, if you had just supported Justin like I asked, maybe things would have been different. Still blaming me, still making my leaving the problem instead of his choices being the cause. I cut him off, gently. Dad, you did not lose the company because I left. You lost it the day you chose pride over truth. Justin could not run that company. Deep down, you knew that. But you wanted him to be something more than he was, and you were willing to sacrifice everything to maintain that illusion. I spent 20 years trying to be enough for you, working harder, learning more, proving myself over and over. I am done with that. I am done making myself smaller so someone else can feel bigger. Dad's eyes watered. I gave you everything I could. No, Dad. You gave me what was left over after you gave Justin everything first. There is a difference between providing for someone and actually seeing them. You never saw me. You saw what you wanted me to be, which was always less than what I actually was. He sat there for a long moment, then stood up without another word. That was the last time I saw him. 2 years after that conversation, my life looks nothing like I imagined it would when I was that young man desperate for his father's approval. I am director of operations at my firm now. Melissa and I are engaged planning a wedding for next spring. We bought our first house, a small place in Tempe, with a backyard where we want to plant citrus trees. I have a healthy relationship with work. I do an excellent job, but it does not define whether I have worth as a human being. Some of the old Barrett employees reached out over the years. I gave references, helped where I could. Justin found work as a salesman at an equipment company. Dad got him the job through an old connection. Last I heard, he was doing okay there, not leading, not making decisions, just selling. Maybe that is where he belonged all along. Dad is semi-retired now, living on Social Security and a small pension from selling the company assets. He and Justin share an apartment in Mesa. We do not speak. I do not hate him. I just do not need him anymore, and that changes everything. I drive past the old Barrett building sometimes. A different company owns it now. Their sign where ours used to hang. It used to hurt seeing that. Now it is just a building, brick and glass and metal. Nothing more. The real gift was not inheriting the company. The real gift was discovering I did not need my father's approval to have value. That slap that shattered my world also freed me from spending the rest of my life begging for scraps of recognition. Walking away felt like failure in that moment, like I was giving up, like I was not strong enough to stay and fight. Now I understand. Staying would have been the real failure. Failure to respect myself, failure to recognize my own value, failure to understand that some legacies are not worth carrying because they are built on the wrong foundation. You cannot change people who refuse to see you. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away and let them face the consequences of their choices. Watching Barrett collapse was not revenge. It was just gravity. When you build something on ego and favoritism instead of competence and reality, it falls. That is not cruelty. That is physics. When you remove yourself from a failing system, you are not destroying it. You are just no longer holding it up. And once I understood that, once I really accepted it, I stopped carrying guilt about the bankruptcy. Dad made his choices, Justin made his, I made mine. We all live with the results. Your worth is not determined by who recognizes it. The people who truly matter will see you without you having to prove anything. And the people who refuse to see you, no matter what you do, they are telling you something important. Believe them and walk away. I sometimes wonder what Dad thinks about now in that apartment in Mesa. Does he understand what happened? Does he have regrets? Does he lie awake at night thinking about that conference room that slapped those words he can never take back? I do not need to know the answers anymore. For years I would have given anything to hear him say he was wrong, that he was sorry, that he finally saw what I had been trying to show him all along. But I do not need that validation now. I have built something better. A life where my value is not negotiable, where my effort goes to people who appreciate it, where I am enough simply because I say I am. The empire burned, yes. Dad's 42 years of work dissolved in less than 3. But from those ashes, I built something that cannot be taken away from me. Self-respect, peace, freedom from the desperate need to be seen by someone who chose blindness. That is the only legacy worth having. Not a company with your name on the door, not money or property or reputation, but the unshakable knowledge that you know who you are, regardless of who refuses to acknowledge it. I walked away from everything I thought I wanted and found everything I actually needed. And I would make that same choice again, every single time. Have you ever walked away from someone who refused to see your value? Have you ever watched something collapse that you used to hold together? Drop a comment below and let me know your story. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about finding strength in letting go. Share this with someone who needs to hear that walking away is not giving up. It is sometimes the bravest choice you can make. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your worth is not determined by who fails to recognize it. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and remember that sometimes the best thing you can do is simply step back and let gravity work.